guys, welcome back to the podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. I'm your host Monica, and we are back again. New week, new topic, new guest, new year. Happy New Year, guys! Since it is the new year, we're venturing into 2024. We're leaving 2023 behind, and we're going to be talking about all of our favorites through the months of January. Favorite TV shows, favorite movies, maybe even some things that we don't like. And last week we talked about the things that we're anticipating for 2024. So now we're talking about our favorite TV shows, and we're going to be talking about this with a returning guest. Everyone, say hi to Tristan. As you guys know, Tristan was on the pod last year, where we talked about. Were we talking about? Was it a Mike? I think we talked about like a Mike Flanagan show.
We did. We talked about a lot of stuff, but I feel like that was definitely, and I feel like we talked about Midnight Mass or just his work, a body of work in general,
Uh
or was
huh.
it was it the Midnight Club? Because he does so much.
Mhm.
Um, but we did. We definitely talked about him and his body of work. We talked
Mhm.
about a bunch of stuff. I know it was another list involved too. I just can't remember what our list was. It
I
was like
think it
our
was like
favorite
I
shows
think it was
of
worst TV.
worst TV. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that
Mhm.
sounds about right.
Yeah. So Tristan's back, guys. He is a writer, film, TV critic. Critic. He has worked with Geek Vibes Nation, The Cinema Spot, and United by Pop. He is also a board member of the North Texas Film Critics Association. Okay, wow. Look at you.
Yes, thank you. And I was just accepted into the African American Film Critics Association about a month ago, a little over a month ago. So
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. And as you guys
Thank
know,
you.
we have a bunch of people from like Geek Vibes Nation and the Cinema Spot on the pod from time to time. So it's great to have Tristan back on the pod. And we're going to be talking about our favorite TV shows this time instead of our least favorite TV shows like we did last time. But before we dive into that, we're going to dive into our first segment of the pod, which is called Media Mania, where we talk about new releases, entertainment news, the like. And there's one piece of information that I saw just today on Twitter, and I saw Leo tweet this out. And apparently, Steven Yeun, he is no longer going to be in Marvel's Thunderbolts. And it's
Oh,
basically a
really?
rumor, but I think it's basically been confirmed um, that he is not going to be in the movie anymore, which I found a little bit interesting. Did you hear about that news?
I did not come across it, and honestly, I don't think I knew that he was in the movie. Wait, weren't there rumors that he was going to play the Sentry or something like that? I feel
Yeah.
like I heard something like that. Like we didn't really know what roles he was going to play. Okay, I do. Okay, I'm starting to remember that. Yeah, he was supposed to be in it. I remember hearing that he might be the Sentry. But
Mm-hmm.
I like him as an actor,
Yeah.
so I am sad to see him go. I am sad to see him go because I just like him as an actor in general.
Yeah. I think the role was accidentally revealed by Robert Kirkman in an interview. He said that Steven was playing the Sentry,
Okay,
and
okay.
there isn't a lot of information as to like what happened or why he dropped. He left the project. I mean, it's a developing story, so it
Hmm.
may be a rumor. It could possibly be true. We do kind of have to wait for new information to be revealed to the public, but that's essentially what we're learning as of right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that's confirmed, and then if we get any, of course, we probably won't know we probably won't be told what really happened, but to see what their public excuse is for it. Be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, it's possible that he dropped out of the film because of maybe different projects that he
Mhm.
wants to like try to do, or it could be because of a number of reasons. I know that we all know recently Marvel has been having this weird moment with releasing films kind of late, and also just like scheduling and delays and stuff like that. So what is most likely that has happened is that Steven probably has other projects that he wants to,
Yeah, yeah.
work and do, and waiting on Thunderbolts or having to shoot Thunderbolts might conflict with those and have like cause scheduling conflicts. So he would rather work on those projects than having to hold out on a Marvel project.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean, that's just my theory. I don't know for sure, but we'll figure out later down the line. And as
Mhm.
many of you already know, Jonathan Majors, I almost forgot his name. Jonathan Majors has been dropped by Marvel as Kang. So there's been a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen with Kang's storyline, if they're going to continue it. And one rumor that's come out the Marvel camp is that Coleman Domingo is being considered to replace him as Kang. And Coleman Domingo has already stated in an interview that he would love to play a Marvel villain if the opportunity did arise. And I've said that there are a number of actors that I feel like should take the mantle of Kang. Um, but what do you think about Coleman Domingo possibly taking
Love
Jonathan
him
Major's
as
spot?
love him as an actor. I think he would do an excellent job. I saw this on Twitter earlier today, and I had a conversation with a coworker about it. I love him as an actor. I think he would do an excellent job. Um, you know what? I also thought it was interesting because they also talked about the idea of just skipping over the Kang storyline, like somehow bypassing that. I will say that I am leaning more toward having Coleman Domingo come in and take over. And I didn't know he had already expressed interest in playing a Marvel villain, so that's really interesting. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like this is very kismet, like this is fate, in a
Yeah,
weird way because we had that whole Jonathan Major situation. But like, I would love to see him take on the mantle of that role. I think he would do a great job.
yeah. I think that it's definitely an interesting story. I think that Marvel is definitely setting a precedent for their actors, just in terms of like who they're going to allow to obviously like work with them and work within the company. And I'm glad that Jonathan Majors was let go, and I do hope that like his victims do get like the restitution they deserve, and that they recover and they receive all the love and support that they need. And in terms of moving forward with Kang, I personally think they should recast him. If it's Coleman Domingo, that's great. I'm also uh like I'm privy. I'm open to like Damson. Is that his name? I think Damson Idris, the guy from Snowfall.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, or Corey Hawkins
Okay,
or
okay. Oh yeah, I
Yaya.
did see Corey Hawkins thrown out there. Corey Hawkins,
Yeah,
I feel like he could do it. Yeah.
or like Yaya Abdul Mateen the third. And I know that he's in
Hmm.
DC, but the DCU ended with Aquaman 2, and I didn't even watch that movie because I knew it was going to be trash. So I feel like him transitioning to Marvel would just be better for him.
Yeah, because I mean they're rebooting that whole universe anyway. So yeah, he could
Yeah.
transition. So yeah, you're right. There are like, especially you saying Corey Hawkins. I would really love to see him in it. But you're right, Corey Hawkins, Coleman Domingo. Yeah, there are some people who there are some strong contenders, at least in my mind, that I could see kind of transitioning into that role. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Like I said, I really am in favor of them just continuing that storyline with a different actor.
Mm-hmm.
So and apparently, I was watching a video the other day, and they were like, with the way Loki season 2 ended, they could see them using that as a reason for why Kang looks different. I don't know what that means. I didn't watch season 1 or season 2 of Loki, but I was like, okay, so there is kind of a there's something that has happened that they can kind of use that to explain why Kang changed or whatever. But I mean, even if they don't acknowledge it and just like bring in a new actor, either way, I'm in support of it.
Yeah. I think with Loki, I don't know. I don't know the theory that you're talking about, but just off of like what I know personally from watching the series, I know that Loki has a variant who is a woman, who is Sylvie. So
Hmm.
it is
Hmm.
possible that like there will be a Kang variant that doesn't look like Kang. If they were to, instead of recasting Kang with like a black man instead of a black woman, that would be also be pretty cool. And I think that would be pretty interesting to have a black woman maybe as like the headlining villain in the Marvel universe. And if they were going to cast someone, I would say Asia Naomi King would be my top pick as a female Kang variant. I really do think that she would like dominate that role, and she's a really great actress. Just overall, I
She
really
is. I
like
remember her
her.
from How to Get Away with Murder, and then there
Yeah,
was another movie I saw her in. Yeah, she is a great actress.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out too. Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see. And I mean, I'm just trying to be hopeful at this point, but we'll see what happens. Okay. Next up, this is a piece of news that I don't really want to talk about, but I'm just gonna do it anyways. For some reason, Dave Chappelle has another Netflix special, and once again, it is incredibly problematic. He targets the trans community and disabled people in this new Netflix special titled The Dreamer. And I remember, I don't know why Netflix signed so many deals with these people, but like Netflix and Adam Sandler and Dave Chappelle seem to have like this deal. The both of them have this deal with Netflix where Netflix has essentially written them this blank check and they can make as
Mhm.
many movies and specials as they want, which is why you keep seeing Adam Sandler movies on Netflix. Whether it's like Murder Mystery 2, You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, which I will admit that's a good movie. And then Leo, the animated film that he did. But then there's Dave Chappelle, who has, I don't know, 5 Netflix specials now, which I don't understand why he has so many when they are not an elevated exploration into his comedy. It's just him standing on a mic, being halfway funny and mostly transphobic. So we are
I haven't
back
watched
again.
any of them. Yeah, I know people have pointed out that they've mentioned that his last two are really like transphobic and problematic. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
watched any of his specials, so yeah, I don't know why. Like, especially after the controversy with the last one, I don't know why he came back and decided to like double down. Like what's
Mm-hmm.
the point? Like we know your views at this point. So like, okay, we get it, sir. We get it. Why are you coming back and like almost like it's like you're infatuated or obsessed with the trans community? You just feel the need to keep letting us know that you're gonna disrespect them. I don't get that. Like we know your views. Why come back and remind us? Like we didn't forget.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. And I don't understand why Ted Sarandis is just kind of like letting this happen. I feel like from the last special he did, The Closer, with there being like an employee walkout and a rally that happened at Netflix in 2021, that had to be enough for them to understand that like maybe this relationship we have with this comedian is not enough. Maybe this is not worth it. Like I don't really think you're getting that much return on these specials because the amount of controversy that follows after he drops them is can't really be like you can't really stand by the thought that all press is good press. Like bad press is bad press, especially after we just ended, you know, a historically long writer and actor strike because your company doesn't want to pay their writers, their actors, their employees, and now you have allowed someone who's openly transphobic to have his specials be on your platform when you also have a platform that has a large library of LGBTQ TV shows and movies with those same people working in your offices. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly is it? Because if you want to be a platform, you can be a platform, but like, then you have to reconcile with the fact that your employees and the people that allow their content to be on your platform, who like have faced real life challenges due to their identity, will no longer see you as a good fit for their projects moving forward and will go somewhere else. Like that's a long term consequence that you have for allowing Dave Chappelle to just say whatever he wants to say on your streaming
Mm-hmm.
service. I don't think that's worth it. I
Yeah,
don't.
it makes you wonder what these people are thinking.
Yeah.
Um, Although I will say, I feel like with this controversy, there are people who are going to watch it. There are a lot of people who are going to watch it just to to hear what he's saying. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who are going to support him because he's far from the only transphobic person. So
Mm-hmm.
I do think I was going to say I feel like he's not the guy. The people in charge of Netflix aren't dumb. They know what they're doing. I do give you that long term, there are going to be some ramifications that are going to come back to bite them in the butt. But I
Yeah.
think in the immediate future, they're like in the present, they're just like, oh, okay, well, we're going to enjoy this wave of the controversy and all these views and all these clicks. Um, and then, we'll deal with everything else later. I do think that's kind of their frame of mind, unfortunately.
Disappointing. So disappointing. But I think one thing that we may see on Netflix soon is a Gypsy Rose Blanchard documentary, possibly, because Gypsy Rose Blanchard did leave prison recently, and there have been a lot of people talking, at least on my TikTok timeline, I guess, or For You page. There have been a lot of people who watched The Act and are trying to compare how Joey King looked to how Gypsy Rose Blanchard looked, and a lot of people are making like um, a lot of jokes about her leaving, like her leaving prison. And seeing that this happen in real time reminds me of how true crime as a genre is just exploitative. Just by default, it is an exploitative genre because you're taking real people and their lives and their stories and you're turning it into content. And with them now making like almost true crime biopics, it has made it worse. Because I don't need to see like a even more sensationalized version of someone who is a murderer played by a well-known and well-liked actress or actor. And now you have a real person who has had their life turned into a TV show. And I'm kind of waiting for the Good Morning America interview where I don't know who's going to be, but someone's going to ask Gypsy if she's seen um, the act on Hulu. And what does she think of it? Do you think that Joey King accurately portrayed your life? And I feel like that's gonna be like just a weird thing to watch. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. That story I've never been too familiar with. I've only
Mm-hmm.
ever knew, like I only recently found out about the act. I knew about the HBO documentary about what happened with her
Mm-hmm.
killing her mom. But like, oh yeah, literally, like it was a couple of days ago that somebody was like, "Oh yeah, there's a TV show," and I was like, "Oh really?" And I think it's on Hulu, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I went and added it to my queue, but I still haven't watched the documentary. So I knew that story in passing,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't really speak too much on it. I do agree with the part of like true crime. It is. Just as a genre, yes, it's. I think we're starting to acknowledge more that yeah, that's very problematic. I think it all, for me, I think came to a head with Dahmer,
Mm-hmm.
and how people were just like infatuated with Evan Peters, and it was like y'all hold up, though he's playing a serial killer, and like there are
Yeah.
families who there are families who have to watch like a dramatization of their loved one being murdered, and let's not start lusting over Jeffrey Dahmer. Like those lines were blurring really badly, and I was like, yeah, Evan Peters is a good actor, but he's an actor
Yeah.
like it was just like yeah I think that really brought things to a head for a lot of people. People were like wow, yeah, this is kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
um
Little sick, little twisted,
yeah,
because
yeah.
Evan Peters has worked with Ryan Murphy for a long time, and you're right, he is a beloved actor. He's a very good actor. But I remember watching an interview he did where he talked about playing Jeffrey Dahmer and getting to the mindset, and he said something along the lines of like almost having to feel sorry for Jeffrey, and that's the one thing that I can't
And
get
the show,
behind.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? And the show tries to like make him an empathetic figure. And I was like, when I
Mm-hmm.
remember saying this, I said on Twitter like, no, 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 we don't need to be feeling sorry for Jeffrey Dahmer. Like,
Mm-mm.
no, let's direct that empathy. But I mean, in a sense, I don't blame him as an actor because I mean he's only bringing to life what has been written, and the show does try to portray Jeffrey as an empathetic figure. So I could see Evan in playing it being like, oh, he was awkward, he was weird, he was an outsider, he was this, he was that. But then again, at the same time, like Evan, no, let's think about this. And then the
Mm-hmm.
fact that his victims are primarily, well, almost in what entirely, no, primarily people of color. I'm like, there's a lot of problematic behavior that comes in that we shouldn't be we shouldn't be empathizing with or sympathetic for Jeffrey Dahmer. He doesn't he don't need that.
He
He does
doesn't
not
need
need that.
that. No.
The victims of the families deserve that.
They deserve that
Um
more. Yeah.
yeah.
And it sucks because imagine if you lost your loved one to a serial killer and now you have to watch a TV show where someone is playing you
Yeah.
being emotional because you have to testify against the person who killed your family member. And you have to watch an actor redo that and essentially relive that trauma all over again because it's being sensationalized and brought back into, popular culture.
Yeah, that's mm-mm.
Yeah, at this point it's just unfair, and it also reminds me of like I recently did a YouTube video about the movie May December. Did you watch that
Mhm.
movie?
Yes.
Okay. I made a video about like why I didn't want to watch it because I saw like trailers for it and I saw the poster for it, and it's just like Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman on the cover. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting because I love both of these actresses. So when I looked into what the movie was about, I was just like, oh, so I'm not gonna watch this movie because I can't
Mhm.
do that. I can't like watch that. And I know that like the movie is like inspired by the case of Mary Kay Letourneau and Vicky Fallow, and it takes place like 20 years after the relationship started, and still
Hmm.
it just kind of felt uncomfortable for me to watch it because you're taking something that like really happened and you're kind of like exploring, of course, the aftermath of it all. But I I don't know what it will be like to be an actor and trying to get the headspace of a woman who got into a relationship with a 13-year-old boy.
And
Cause
it's funny you say that. It's very meta
yeah,
because that's literally what Natalie Portman's character is doing in the movie. She's an actress
mm-hmm,
trying to get in the headspace of this lady who has done this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Although I
It's
will say that's a lot different than like true crime because I mean it was a
uh
crime, but there wasn't murder. I
yes.
mean, but there was still you know rape. So I mean, or
It's still like
so,
I think it still falls under the true crime umbrella, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah. You're right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're right because yeah, it was crime. Um, yeah,
I just think
with
it's
that
weird that
one.
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was thinking, I was like, yeah, that one is still in the true crime,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, umbrella, yeah, sure.
I just think that it's very weird and unsettling how Hollywood has started taking, these situations that real people have to deal with and sensationalizing them, making them into dramas for people to watch for entertainment's sake, which takes away from any kind of thoughtful critique and really looking at like what's happening. And I feel
Hmm.
like when Miss Rose Blanchard does happen to do an interview, it's likely, or maybe she'll just like go on and live her quiet life. If she does decide to live a quiet little life, it's going to be hard for her because so many people know what happened to her and they understand these different versions of the story or they have their own theories of what happened to her in her life. So she may not be able to just live a peaceful, quiet life because this has
Hmm.
happened to many other families that have turned into like news stories or mysteries because the family member has died and the media took hold of this story and turned it into a whole circus like with John Benet Ramsey. Like how so many people are like, was it the brother, were the parents in on it, like blah blah blah, and making all these conspiracy theories and like seeing stuff on like TikTok about like girls want to be like one of Charles Manson's girls and like people doing these Jeffrey Dahmer Halloween costumes. It's like people have lost the plot almost. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. I find it really irritating, to say the
Hmm.
least. Yes. Um, and yeah, but that's just how I'm feeling about that. Hopefully, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is able to, live her life and just find, a hobby, a nice job, go back to school, and, just chill out. And if she does discover TikTok, then I feel like we just need to, like, join hands in prayer, for her and her psyche, because who girl, you are not ready for what is going to. You're not ready. So, all love and light to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I'm glad that she's out of jail. I just hope she lives a nice life.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And one other new piece of news that happened that was revealed or something, I don't know. Apparently, Mickey Mouse is now public domain. So people have been like making all these tweets with like the Mickey Mouse logo, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, the original version of what would become so Steamboat Willie,
Yeah.
um, yeah, is in the public domain. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people do with that. I don't, and I see somebody has like somebody they've already released like a trailer, like, maybe not a trailer, but like a movie poster. Like somebody
Yeah.
was already actively working on a project, and it's funny because somebody also mentioned that Peter Pan was in public domain, which I thought Peter Pan had been in the public domain for a while. Because I remember like Once Upon a Time did like did a storyline with Peter Pan years ago.
Yeah, but Once
Um,
Upon a Time was an ABC Disney show. So it wasn't like just ABC. They did Frozen too, Once Upon a Time.
but they owned that. They didn't own Peter Pan. They didn't own the copyright to Peter Pan. So now that it was in, so that's what I'm saying. Like they didn't own
Oh.
that. Frozen they owned. So that's what I'm
Disney
saying. The
didn't
fact that they
own Peter Pan?
Peter Pan, no, they don't like not the original story. No,
Hmm.
there was something different with there's something different with Peter because they made a Peter Pan movie, yes, but there's something about the copyright, who held the copyright. I want to say the original author left it to some children's hospital. So
Okay.
even though they made that movie, the original copyright still belonged to that hospital, that
Oh,
children's hospital.
interesting. I didn't know that. Hmm.
Because there's even a comic book series called Fables, which deals with like fairy tale characters and storybook characters. I remember the original author said he wanted to use Peter Pan years,
Mm-hmm.
like when the comic first started in 2001, he wanted Peter Pan to be the villain, but he couldn't do it because something with the copyright and that hospital still owned the rights. Because he actually revived the comic back in 2022, and Peter Pan is in it now, but I think it's because that copyright, I thought it was because the copyright had expired.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's weird. Like, and actually, now I think about it, it was a thing where it was in the public domain, but since the hospital in England still had the copyright, whatever you made here in America, it could, or wherever you made it, wherever it was coming from, it couldn't be sold in England because it would violate the copyright there. It was something like that.
Hmm.
That's why when Once Upon a Time used Peter Pan, I was like, wait, so they're just not going to air the show with those episodes in England because it violates the copyright the hospital. So I think now what has happened, like the hospital doesn't have it anymore, so it's fully in the public domain. It was something along those lines where the hospital still had part of it or something like that. And that
Huh.
complicated things. But either way,
Okay.
it'll be interesting to see what people do with that now that that's fully in the public domain. Because we've already seen what has happened with fairy tales. We see what happened with the Wizard of Oz and all these other stuff, all these other things that have made their way to the public domain. So I think we'll see
Yeah.
a Peter Pan horror take on that, which
Oh my
I feel like
god.
it opens itself up to that a mysterious creature that steals kids away to a magical land. Like, yeah, there's a lot that people can do
Oh
with
my
that. So
gosh. It's like it, but he can fly and he's not a clown.
Wendy will have to kill him. Like, she'll
Oh
be,
my god.
it'll be something.
Murderous
Um,
Tinkerbell.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh my gosh, Murderous Tinkerbell. Have you watched The Boys?
yes,
Okay, you know that's you know the scene where the guy is tiny and he like
hmm
flies into the guy's you know
yeah. And
what?
he's like sneezes and he sneezes. Yeah, that was
Yeah, 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 yeah,
horrific.
yeah. I feel like they're gonna include a scene like that with Tinkerbell, possibly.
I could see
Maybe.
it.
If they wanted to make it happen, they could. But I feel like, horror movies based off of childhood characters is it's just kind of like a shoe in for a Razzie. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Which, if you want to do that, more power to you. I hope you make a bunch of money off of that. But at the same time, I'm kind of over it, Like,
I
it's kind
think
of
we'll
like,
see more though.
yeah, I think you're right. There was a poster that I saw on Twitter for like Steamboat Willie, and it's like a slasher movie.
Hmm.
Seems like I don't know the title. Um, and if that does happen to get released sometime this year, then we'll see if it's good or not.
Hmm.
It'll probably be terrible. Maybe another Velocipaster. We'll have to wait and see.
The terrible things have made money before, so just because
They
it's terrible
always do.
doesn't
They
mean that
can
there won't be a sequel.
listen. And okay, speaking of things that are terrible, I don't know if this is going to be terrible, but apparently there's going to be a Minecraft movie, and Jack Black is going to be the lead in the movie.
Oh, hmm. I've never
What?
played that game, so I don't have much of a opinion on that.
Not much of a connection.
Hmm.
Okay. Me personally, I did used to play Minecraft a lot when I first got into video games, and I feel like this is going to be a lot like, um, obviously from the successes of Super Mario Bros. And Five Nights at Freddy's and the Barbie movie. Studios are seeing that making a film of an existing IP, even if that existing IP is a toy or a video game, as long as you have a story and as long as you have a strong, writing team and cast alongside with it, people will watch it and people will like it. And Barbie was an international phenomenon. So was Super Mario Bros. That was an amazing film. And Five Nights at Freddy's, I feel like, was a fun, campy horror romp. I think it was really interesting, and I like the way that they had like a couple of YouTubers in the movie, but they were actually like acting in the movie, which I think is really good. I think it's cool to like include, influencers and YouTubers in your film if you're going to give them like an actual role and just like a little bit of screen time just so people can like recognize who this person is and like see their favorite creator in there. I think that's pretty cool. So I feel like there are going to be a couple of Minecraft um streamers in this movie. Like, I'm already saying it right now. It's most likely that that's what's gonna happen, and I'm not even sure if I'm gonna recognize some of them because some of them I've only heard of in passing, just because I'm chronically online, and I've like heard of like Dream, and like I think that's the only Minecraft streamer I actually know, if I'm being honest. But we'll see. We'll see who else would be in the film. I think that um, I don't think I'm gonna completely write off a Minecraft movie being bad, since there have already been pretty good ones already. Also, the Angry Birds movie is actually pretty good, so it's possible that the Minecraft movie will also be a hit. And also, Jack Black is a comedy king, so you already know he is gonna bring it. Like him alone, he's gonna bring it. Yeah. Also, I love the song Peaches from the Mario movie.
Yeah, that was nominated for a Golden Globe. It'll be interesting to see if it wins or not.
I kind of wish that it was nominated for an Oscar, because if Jack Black was an Oscar nominated actor, I think that would actually like be so cool. That would
Well,
be
we'll
really
see. They haven't
neat.
done Oscar nominations. We get the Oscar nominations in February.
They haven't
So,
done Oscar noms yet?
mm-mm.
Oh,
Golden
right.
Globes, because Golden
Yeah.
Globes isn't even until this
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah.
So yeah.
The Golden Globes are on the 7th. Yeah. I think they've been doing like predictions for like Oscars or like the short list. I don't think Peaches made the short list for the Oscars, is
Okay.
what I heard. But I'm Just Ken did, and also they're doing a remix of I'm Just Ken as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I have a question. Why are we doing so much with Ken after the Barbie movie? Is it
I
not?
have heard them talk about spin-offs and stuff like that. What's his name?
No,
Well, Gosling, Ryan Gosling was pretty good in that movie. I will say
he
that.
was.
I don't know if it was spin-off worthy, but I will say I would be interested in seeing how a Ken spin-off played out.
They're just talking about a spinoff, but Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig made it clear that like they just wanted to do Barbie. Like that's
Hmm.
what they were like striving for. And a Ken spinoff, if it's led by Noah Baumbach, I really don't know if I'll be able to. I really don't know if that's something we need. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Is it necessary? I mean, you can do it if you want to. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not in charge of any kind of studio. But like, do we really need it?
Well, Barbie made a lot of money, so they're gonna find some way to keep that going. So, like, even Greta Gerwig not want to do with it. That's not gonna stop them
Yeah.
from bringing in somebody else. I actually don't imagine. I don't see Greta Gerwig directing something like that. So yeah,
No.
they would definitely bring in somebody else and yeah, start with Ryan Gosling. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll see.
We'll have to
All right, are we
see.
ready to talk about shows?
Yeah, we'll have to
I'm
wait and
so
see.
eager to
Okay.
I'm eager
Okay.
to I'm eager to get to my show. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna wrap up Media Mania and get to the meat and potatoes of the podcast where we talk about, our favorite TV shows of 2023. So if you want to go ahead and start with your list, go ahead, get started.
Alrighty, so and this isn't like I'm just saying this list. I just wrote these out, so this isn't how I'm ranking them. I'm just saying them in this order because that's how I listed them. So Gen V season one,
Mm-hmm.
Never Have I Ever season four, Exo Kitty season one, The Wheel of Time season two, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I would say season. I mean, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off season one. I don't think it's coming back though. Invincible season two, part one. Swarm season one. Again, I don't think that's coming back for season two. Jenny in Georgia season two. Heartstopper season two. Sex Education season four. Percy Jackson and the Olympians is still running, but like the first two episodes came out. Oh, well, as a critic, I watched the first four episodes, so I watched the first half of the first season. But yeah, that's my list.
Okay, can you say the first two again?
Yeah, Exo Kitty season one. It's a spinoff of the To All the Boys I've Loved Before films. It follows the youngest sister, and then Never Have I Ever season four.
Okay, got it.
Oh, you know what? I think I actually said Gen V. Gen V
You
also.
did,
Gen V is.
yeah. You said Gen V.
You got me have listed that one first, but yeah,
Okay. I knew that we were both gonna say Gen V.
yeah, I really enjoy Gen V.
I think Gen V was undoubtedly one of the best shows that came out last. like last
I
season.
agree, and they could have messed that up. Oh my god, they could have messed that up so bad.
I
Because
feel
when I
like
heard they were doing a spinoff, I was like, oh god, because the
I'm
boys are
not.
so good.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I feel like a lot of times when you do a spinoff for a show, if the initial show is good enough and you're gonna bring in the same writers and creators, then the spinoff has like everything it needs to be as good. And because we both watched The Boys, we both know The Boys is a phenomenal show. And when they,
Mhm.
we're talking about Gen V, and I saw like the cast, and it's mainly like people who like are basically younger talent, kind of like newer to the acting scene. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good. Because when they bring in like essentially like fresh faces to a show, that's when it's gonna be good. If they have to depend on like people that you kind of know or recognize or like Instagram models or something, that's like, okay, so y'all are banking on this being trash and you're counting on their followers to like,
Mhm.
bring in people to watch the show.
Yeah. I was really excited about Chance Perdumo and Jazz Sinclair because I was familiar with
Yes.
them from Sabrina, the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
Even the girl that plays Kate, she was on a show that I'm still salty if the show was canceled. Teenage Bounty Hunters. That the girl that plays
Oh,
Kate, she
I
was on the
missed that
Netflix show.
show.
Yeah, she
That
was the
wasn't
girl that played
bad.
Kate. She was on there. I love that show. And they canceled it after one season. I was so salty about that.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Schwarzenegger, I didn't even realize that was him
Yes.
until somebody pointed out. I thought I mean, yeah, he did. He was only in one episode, really, but he did a
Right.
good job in his role. I
Yeah.
would have liked more time with Golden Boy,
Mm-hmm. Me too.
but yeah, he was pretty good. Um, the actor that they have playing, I think his name is Luke. He
Yeah.
plays. I'm forgetting his name, but he's a non-binary. Well, the character is non-binary,
Uh-huh.
but he plays the male version of that character. I really like that actor, and the female version of that. She's a good actress too. She's a
Jordan?
good actress.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy's name is Jordan. Is that his
Yeah.
name?
The character's name is
Okay,
Jordan.
okay, Jordan.
Um,
Yes, Jordan. I like Jordan. I like both of those
I
actors
think
that play
the
Jordan.
actress's name is Thor, or that's her
Okay,
last name, at least.
but I like that entire cast. I like that entire cast.
Yeah, the cast is
I
solid.
just really that show was just so fun to watch.
Yeah,
Like
it
every
was.
week I looked forward to it. It was just so fun, so well written, so well acted. I
Mm-hmm.
loved the storylines. I love this idea. After watching The Boys,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because I fully went in expecting to hate these kids because I was like, oh my god, they're gonna be so pompous, so full of themselves. Because you know how
What?
the superheroes act on The Boys,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
the show did such a good idea of making them so sympathetic, and it's to the point
yeah.
where I'm like, I'm so scared for all of them because I feel like as the show goes on, they're gonna get corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just inevitable, but they're gonna get corrupted. And I'm like, I was like, oh, these kids are gonna be so like stuck up. But no, all the characters were so sympathetic, and you root for them and you care for them. And like I said, it really has me scared for future seasons. I'm like, I feel like I'm only gonna grow to hate y'all from here because y'all are gonna get corrupted.
No.
I mean, but I mean, the boys, the superheroes are corrupted. So I mean, that's why I went into
Yeah,
this and thinking that,
but the
and I
thing
mean, and
is that like,
it does have the part where they're competing with each other and stuff like
yeah,
that. So I think we'll start to see more of that competition and backbiting and like Jazz Sinclair's character and Jordan. Like I just love them together, but I'm like
yeah,
they're gonna put them through stuff in future seasons. And I'm like, no, I want my precious babies to stay together. But I know they're gonna put them through stuff in the future, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I can handle it. And the way
yeah.
season one ended, I'm like, okay, so where do we go from here? Like that was really interesting the way season one
Season
ended. I was like,
two.
I felt like that was so early for I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
Gen V's season two. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how Gen V season it being based around that school. I'm like, well, with how that ended for certain characters, are we gonna remove them from the campus in the future? Like will that not be I thought that was gonna be like a focal point of the show. But it'll be interesting to see if it remains that going forward. So yeah. But I love them. I love that they were all sympathetic. Even Kate,
Mm-hmm.
even Luke's brother, the crazy brother, like they all have very sympathetic qualities, and you feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to say, I would have to disagree with you. I don't know how you could start watching the show and just automatically assume they would be corrupted because they're college students. Because, I know that you review a lot of like YA novels and like YA media. And one thing that like you can notice in like a lot of college shows is that people come in very green for certain situations and they're just kind of like hopeful and they're kind of like they're
Mhm.
naive. So I kind of had the expectation for some of the actors, like some of the characters in the show, to be kind of like hopeful and a little green to the experience of being a superhero, and saving the world, working at VOD, being a part of the Seven, like blah blah blah, you know. And I think one thing I do love the most about Gen V is because this is one thing I love about shows that have actors that aren't household names, is that we get to just watch the show and fully just watch the actors do their job. You're
Mhm.
watching the show, and these actors are taking on these characters and these identities and these situations, and they are fully giving it their all. And that just helps me to become more immersed in the story and in the show, and that helps me become more attached to it. Because a lot of times people will watch something because their favorite actor or their favorite director is doing it. And of course, a lot of people watch Gen V because it's a spinoff of The Boys. So they expect a lot of like sex, violence, superhero stuff, conspiracies, like plot twists, all that stuff. But because these actors are fresh and new to a lot of people, and if you haven't seen them in other projects, they're new to you, you get to experience them and just like their talent for the first time. And I feel like that really draws you in to becoming attached to them and their characters in the show. And I'm really excited to see The Boys season 4, because now that we have Marie, who's this very sweet, very wholesome person, I feel like she'll really play well with Dewey. Is that his name?
Huey.
Huey, yeah. I think her and Huey are gonna hit off really well. Even though the Huey is kind of like acting a little bit more like the butcher from what we saw in season 3. I think that will be really interesting to see her interact with some of the characters in The Boys. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Um, yeah.
Mhm.
So Gen V is awesome pick. Um, Dang, you did pick a lot of YA shows like Exo Kitty, Never Have I Ever, Ginny and Georgia. I haven't watched that show yet. Everyone keeps talking about this show. Is it good?
I enjoyed Jenny and Georgia. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Okay, when you say you enjoy it, it makes me think that like maybe it's not good, but you watch it for a good time. Is that what it is?
No, I love it. Well, it's not perfect. It has
Okay.
its issues, but I enjoy it because it's fair, like especially because it focuses on like I say it's a YA thing, and it is because Jenny is the daughter, but like Georgia, she is very flawed. She will do anything for her family, anything for her
Okay.
kids,
You
even
have to
like
tell me what
commit.
the
Oh,
show's about, because I've only seen
so
posters.
so in Jenny and Georgia season 1, like basically Georgia, the mom, she has a son. She has a son named Austin and a daughter named Jenny, and they moved to this new town. Like she's kind of Georgia's kind of a scammer.
Oh.
So they moved to this town and they put on this pretense of like, oh yeah, we're a new family in town. They put on this pretense of like they have money. Georgia has like she killed her ex husband because he had touched Jenny inappropriately. But like people, like that's part of the storyline. People are trying to prove it that she killed him. And like Georgia has done all these things, but she really does love her family. So part of it is like this coming of age story for Jenny. And a nice parallel is that Jenny, as she starts to find out some of this horrible stuff her mother has done,
Uh,
she gets upset with her. She's like, I can never be like you. But when you look at Jenny, even among her teenage peers, she's not as horrible as her mom, but she has more in common with her mom than she realizes. So a lot of the
mm,
times it's just really interesting to watch that sort of parallel. Like you think you're not like Georgia, but you be doing some stuff that's very much like just like your mother. Um,
okay, quick question. Ginny is the young light skinned black girl, right?
yes, yes,
Okay, and her mom is the white lady.
yes.
Okay. Okay, got it. What about the dad? Like, is the dad in the pic? No, the whose dad is dead? Is it Ginny's dad? Ginny, the black girl, or is it the son's
No,
dad?
no, no. Her dad is on the show because, funny enough, the actor that plays Black Noir on The Boys, he plays her dad on Ginny and
You're
Georgia.
lying.
Because he gets because in season 2 they give him more to do, and I was telling somebody I was like that actor is a really good actor, and I was
Oh
like I
my
learned that because seeing him on
gosh.
season 2 of Ginny and Georgia. I'm blanking on his name, but
Oh
yeah,
my
he gets
gosh.
a lot more to do in season 2
He's
of the show. I
also
think he was a
really
regular.
fine.
He's a handsome guy, so he gets a lot to do in season 2 of Ginger. And I was like, you get to see that he's actually a good actor because he doesn't
Uh
get
huh.
The Boys. He's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's kind of the part of the character. So he's alive. I want to say, was it Austin's dad that they thought was, yeah, but no, not, I can't remember which one of the Ashmore twins. It's either Sean Ashmore or Aaron Ashmore. He plays Austin's dad in season
Mm-hmm.
two. So whose dad did they think was dead? Because like both the dads are alive, but you don't meet Austin's dad until season two.
Is this show based off of a book?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
It
Because
was
a
an
lot of
original.
sorry, a lot of
It,
the
it seems like it would be, but no, I looked into
yeah.
that. No. It seems like it would be, but no. It's like an original IP.
Okay. Interesting. Now I have to watch
But
Ginny
I
and
love it.
Georgia.
Yeah, I love it, especially the way season two ends. You're like, oh, George's past is catching up with her,
Oh,
and like literally the way it ends is so sad because like you'll see because like it's like she goes from her happiest moment to like her saddest moment. Ugh.
oh.
So Jenny and
Has
Georgia season two, loved it.
has season three been confirmed?
I know it's been renewed. I don't know when it's coming out, but it
Okay.
has been renewed. Yes,
Do you feel
that's
like
one of Netflix's biggest shows. Like, well, they, like it's well,
okay?
I won't say biggest shows, but it's a successful one for them. So,
So you feel like this is going to be a show that will like is not going to be brought down by the Netflix 3 season curse?
hmm, with Georgia's past starting to catch up with her, I could actually see them wrapping the show up around season three because Jenny's
Hmm.
also. I think Jenny's a junior or a senior this season, like this previously. So I could see them like bringing everything to a head in season three.
Hmm.
Actually,
Okay.
I'd be surprised if it. You know what? I could see them wrapping it up, and I don't think it's a type of show that would go on like five, six. I could see them doing three, maybe four seasons. I think it'll get. I could see it getting to season four, but I don't think it would go past season four.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. All right. I'll have to check that out. There are a couple of shows on your list that I have seen as well. Never Have I Ever was. I think those were like one of the only shows I used to hate watch because
Mm-hmm.
I did really want to like the show, and there are aspects of the show that I really do love, but I do get tired of watching Mindy Kaling projects where the lead actress is a brown woman that is into white guys but doesn't like
People are
white
talking about
privilege.
that. Yeah, people have talked about that, and like I haven't watched a lot of Mindy. I haven't watched any Mindy Kaling stuff like this.
Listen,
The only other thing I watched. Wait. Actually, the TV show. She's the TV adaptation of Three Weddings. Oh, no, Four Weddings and a Funeral. That was the only other thing I watched. But that had a
okay,
black lead, and she fell in love with a brown guy.
okay.
So that was a little different.
I
But
do have to say, I did watch the Mindy Project, and the Mindy Project is still one of my favorite shows. Like, it's still a show that I hold very dear to my heart because Mindy Kaling was one of my first inspirations in the terms of like TV and media landscape because she is a
mhm.
brown woman who works in comedy and she is very funny and incredibly talented. And I feel like the Mindy Project was such a phenomenal show and like such a like monumental like thing for her to receive so that she could like create this like show that's kind of like almost an extension of her love life in a way, but every single guy she dated was white.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really interesting, and I've seen YouTube videos about that. I've seen Twitter tweets about that. So I was like, oh, so this is a
Yeah. There was like
she has a
five
history of
seasons of
doing
the
this.
show. And I remember watching it and by season 3 I'm like we gotta change it up because there's one episode where she is dating an Indian guy, and he's like, okay, well, you're one of those girls that only dates white guys, and she's like, okay, well, what's wrong with that? You probably only date white women. Why is it wrong when I do it? As if like to clap back at her critics, but then you never see that guy again, and that she goes on to like, date one character in the show who was a white man for a long time, and I kind of like their relationship, but, um, yeah, if you have a character on your show and their main character in like I don't. You don't have to date diversely. You don't have to, but a pattern is a pattern. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's a pattern. It's something you see. But, yeah. Gosh, never have I ever did end last year.
Yep, it ended last year.
How do you feel about the ending?
I thought it brought the story to a nice close. I will say, like, I didn't have any interest in seeing those characters go to college. Like, I didn't want it to go past season four, and not
Right.
even not because I don't love not because I didn't love the show and those characters. I just felt
Yeah.
like them. ending, like it ended off when they graduated from high school. I felt like that was a good ending for them. And Mindy Kaling even, like I had already come to the decision, but then she confirmed it. But she was like, "Yeah, I don't think." She's like, "No, I don't want to follow these characters to college." And I was like, "Yeah, I could see that. I think the end of high school was a good wrap up for them." Who she ended up with, I will say, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it. She does end up with Ben, the white guy.
Yeah.
Um, and I, I do like that for the character. I feel like Ben made more sense, especially at the way Paxton developed. The other guy, he was
Yeah.
biracial. Um,
He's
I,
biracial.
yeah, so I do think, yeah, I think Ben was a good fit for her when it was all said and done. And I'm trying to think back to what the endings for all the other characters.
Quick question. Do you think that Paxton should have been brought back for season 4? Or do you think we should have just left his character in season 3?
And you know what? And then I'm thinking about, like, what was his storylines? I think he becomes a teacher or something like
Yes,
that.
he does. A substitute gym teacher or
I thought,
something.
you know what? I do like that they brought him back because I do like that they kind of exploit the idea that maybe college isn't the path for everybody. And once you reach that point, what comes next? Like, you have to figure out something you're passionate about, something you can do. So I do like that they kind of explored that route, especially because all the characters they live in Sherman Oaks. Like, they come from very well to do families, they're very ambitious. But it's sort of that idea, like, you can have the world on a silver platter, but still not need to follow that traditional path. So
Mm-hmm.
I did like his storyline, like the idea of life after high school, and if college isn't it, then what comes next?
Mm.
Although on the one hand, you could argue that it kind of, because a part of his storyline was him believing in himself, that he was intelligent and smart and capable of being successful academically. So you could argue that it kind of undoes all that by having him drop out of college
Hmm.
and becoming a part-time teacher. I don't know. I would say I lean more toward, I like him being brought back from season 4 and where his story went.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Sex Ed. Gosh, I love that show. Sex
It fell
Education.
off though. It definitely fell off. Like, I watched like
Uh,
season 4. I was very upset with season 4 because, and it made, like, with the way they ended season 2, 3, it made sense that a lot of the characters would be phased out because that school closed. But
yeah.
like at that one character's funeral, well, I mean, I guess not all of them were close to Maeve, so I guess it wouldn't have made sense for all of them to show up. But I wish they
Yeah.
had done something to bring back, like, even if it was just one episode, like, I feel like they could have done something to bring back all the characters we knew and loved across those first 3 seasons. Because, season 4,
Hmm.
we get all these new characters. And then somebody said something. They were like, this season was clearly written without them knowing that it was going to be the final season. Because the way they introduced all those new characters, I was like, why would you do this
Mm-hmm.
in the fourth season when it's about to end? So they clearly wrote that season thinking that they would have time, the story was going to continue. Because I will say, I didn't care about any of those new characters. I really didn't. I was really
Mm-hmm.
disappointed how with Adam he was so separated from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's another character. He's just like Paxton, where like a part of his storyline was the first 3 seasons was, yeah, you are intelligent, you are capable of doing these amazing things, and then you get to the fourth season, and with Adam, he's working on a farm. So I'm like, and he's so disconnected, and he's
Yeah.
dropped out of school. So I'm like, even with that whole dog training thing they had him do in season 3, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, he's really good at that. But then he's working on a farm in season 4,
Yeah.
and like the dog training thing doesn't come up again. And I was like, okay, so that really
I think
was
they're
just
trying to
to,
do a thing where like he's better with animals.
I
Kind
guess so,
of.
but I feel like they didn't even really emphasize that part. Like, he's working on a farm. We see him dealing with the people. We see him dealing with like messing up with equipment and stuff. I feel like they still didn't put the focus on him like being good with like him having this sort of connection with animals.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of frustrated with that. I feel like they kind of undid. I will say this, because I was very frustrated in season 3. Like, in season 2, they emphasized that him and his dad have issues. We do not see him and his dad interact in season 3. So the fact that they just kind of ignored that whole storyline in season 3, I'm glad they came back season 4 and corrected that, brought the
Mm-hmm.
family back together. Him and his dad finally reached a point of peace and love and all that stuff, and a good father and son relationship. I do like that aspect, but his personal storyline, as far as like his career, I wasn't satisfied with that. Um,
I do want to say, in terms of like the characters I'm returning, there were actors that said that they will not be coming back for sex education.
Well, yeah, I know. Like, for example, the girl who's now on British, and I knew that she wasn't coming back. There were
Yeah.
other actors that said they weren't coming back, but with the exception of the British girl, it came across to me like with some of them, like they weren't being brought back, like because the show was going in a new direction.
No,
But
I actually like. try to, because I read, some articles about it, because one of the actresses who played Ola, who I really liked, she just said that she felt like her time on Bridgerton was over. Like her character had kind of come to a conclusion, and she was
Hmm.
happy with what happened with her character, and she was just ready to move on to different projects. And that's the same
Yeah.
thing that happened with Ola's girlfriend. Oh my gosh, you'll help me.
That actress, yeah, I do remember her
Yeah.
saying she was coming back. So I'll say this: I wish characters that who they could have brought back, if they could have brought back more of them who were willing to come back, I wish they could have gotten them back. So obviously those were those two, and then
Mm-hmm.
obviously the Bridgerton girl had moved on. I feel like, but there were other characters, especially like what's that one guy, the Indian guy, which I guess his storyline was kind of done, so they really didn't have to bring him. It would just been good to see him.
Yeah.
Even Adams, the other guy that dated what's his name, they kind of hinted that he and Adam were going to become friends, if not get into a relationship in the next season.
Raheem?
Raheem,
Yeah, what happened
um,
to Raheem?
he just disappeared. And remember, the season ends with Raheem listening to the poem that Adam wrote for what's his name. And so I was like, is this hinting that they might become friends in a future season? And another thing with Eric. Eric hurt both of them, and the show didn't explore like why does Eric keep hurting people in his relationships. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's something they ignored in the final season. So that was nothing. Not only did actors not come back, I feel like there were certain storylines that were just kind of ignored. But again, that can be chalked up to them not realizing season 4 was going to be the last one, so thinking they would have time to explore certain things.
I
I don't know. I
also,
just overall I just wasn't satisfied with season 4.
yeah. I honestly, like, you're right. There are some things in season 4 that didn't work. There are some things that did work. I think that Otis and Maeve getting together and then breaking up was like a little frustrating for me personally because I didn't want Otis and Maeve to get together. I really just felt like I feel like it should have happened earlier in the show, and for it to happen like later on in the show, it was just like you're dragging it. Like you're really
Mm-hmm.
dragging it at this point. Like both of them have had like relationships or like had interests, love interests with other people, with people who honestly make more sense to be with rather than the two of them together. And for this to like finally happen and for them to break up, it was heartbreaking, and I feel like it was really beautiful, but also like, girl, move past it, let it go. And I need someone to explain to me why did Eric decide to become a pastor at the
Yeah,
end of
that
season
that
four?
I felt like that was, and actually I actually liked that path for him, especially
Why? What?
because of the rejection he was facing coming from the church. I feel like him becoming a pastor who is more open because of his sexuality, is more open to people from the LGBT community. I feel like that would have worked for him. I do, but I will say this: I didn't like that in favor of them ignoring his previous storyline of like
Mm,
exploring in depth why his relationships aren't successful, why he keeps hurting and cheating on the people that he's with. I will say I didn't like that I didn't like the storyline he got in season 4 versus them kind of bringing that other storyline to fruition. One thing I thought was really bizarre about that. Remember, he starts having hallucinations about God. Do you remember that?
yeah.
Like that woman that's supposed to be God. That's what I
He's
didn't like. I
having
was like,
visions or something?
yeah, yeah, and I was like, wait, I was like, no,
Why
I was
is
like, y'all,
Jodie Turner Smith here? What's going on?
yeah, they could have done his whole storyline without. That's the part of the storyline that I was like, okay, now this is just weird. And I'm like, had the
Yeah.
season gone on, we had discovered that he had some kind of like tumor or so. Like, I was really thinking it. I was like, I wonder they're trying to say that he has an illness. They're going to explore that in the future season, like, because I was like, why is he
Yeah.
hallucinating and having visions? This is not that kind of show.
What happened
Um,
to his dad? Like,
Eric's dad.
yeah, season one, he had this beautiful relationship with his dad and his lovely arc, and his dad coming to accept him and like all that he is, and then we never see his dad again.
Again, you're right. He just disappeared. I mean, hey, well. Apparently, that's what this show does. Characters disappear. I feel like Olga, Otis's stepsister. Like, remember at the end
Olga,
of season
yeah,
2, they set up like a storyline where her and Adam are going to be like super best friends in season 3, and
yeah.
then in season 3 we got none of her. Like, she was barely there in season 3. This show has a history of like kind of abandoning characters.
Mm-hmm. I
And
think
my thing is, if you're going to phase characters out, don't set up a storyline with them at the end of the previous season and make it seem like it's going to carry on into the next one. Like, okay,
right.
you want to phase them out, that's fine.
I think that oftentimes shows with a large cast,
Mm-hmm.
they do tend to have a problem juggling like storylines and giving everyone equal screen time. And this is
I
also why
agree.
I didn't like Otis and Maeve, because there are a lot of times where like y'all give up really good pairings just to have two of them together, which I really don't understand. Because like Otis and Ruby, at first I
I was gonna
didn't get
say
it, but like after a while, I was kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe.
I kind of I came around to it too, and I think that actress who plays Ruby, and just even Ruby's backstory, like with her
Oh,
dad, I thought she was. I liked her backstory.
yeah.
I like that actress. I'm really hoping we see more from that
Yes.
actress. So
Yes.
that's the one thing I liked about the pairings, that it gave us more of that actress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sex Education also was such a good show. Like,
Season 1 and season 2 are top tier to me,
oh
especially that
my
first season.
gosh. So
Season
good.
3, it just fell off. Yeah, like season 1 and season
Bro.
2 were just top tier. Season 3 is
Yeah.
when you could see the troubles, and then season 4 just like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it went out with a whimper. Did not go out with a bang. No pun intended. Did not go out
Mm-hmm.
with a bang. It definitely went out with a whimper.
Season
Um,
3 was the season where they had the blonde woman as the principal, right?
yes, the lady from Girls. Yeah,
Oh, she was so terrible.
yeah, she was.
Ooh, girl. Evil. Okay. I'm so glad you put Heartstopper on the list too, because I also love Heartstopper.
Yes, I loved season 2 of Heartstopper.
So cute.
Um, I love that show. Although it's really interesting because I've read the graphic novel. So like I
Mm-hmm.
had like I bought volume 4 a couple weeks ago, and I
Oh,
still need to
cool.
read that. But like, so season 2 adapted elements of volume 2 and 3, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they said they should have gone for 4 seasons. So I'm like, so season 3 will do 4 and 5, I'm guessing. But and there's gonna be 6 volumes, so I'm like, 6 volumes, 4 seasons of the show. I'm like, it'll be
There's
interesting. I mean, but they
also,
add stuff. They add stuff in too.
yeah, and there's also the novella.
The novellas. They could explore the novellas. There's also the novel Solitaire. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be interesting if they tried to include that. It'll be interesting because Solitaire had a different vibe. It was kind of a
Completely
mystery.
different.
Yeah, but you know, Nick and Charlie are side. That was Tori. That was Charlie's sister's book, and that was Alice
Mm-hmm.
Oseman's debut novel. I was like, I would love to even see them kind of try to integrate elements of that, because that would give us more Tori screen time, his sister.
Yeah.
So I would love to see them try to integrate some of that into the show. Like you're right, they could integrate the novellas stuff in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know Alice Oseman said she wants it to make it to 4 seasons, and I was like, well, the way y'all are adapting stuff, like it might run out of material. But no, they do have the novellas, and they have
Mm-hmm.
Solitaire. So, but I
Yes.
love that show. I love season 4. I love that, and here's another reason why the show could go on to season 4. In the show, we get more of the side characters, like Elle and
Yeah.
Tao. We don't get as much of them. And Elle and Tao, and then what's the other pairing? Nick,
There's
Charlie, Elle, Tao.
oh my
I
gosh,
know
Kara and
to-
Darcy?
Tara and Darcy. Tara and Darcy.
Tara and
We
Darcy.
get more of
Okay.
Tara and Darcy. So we have those 3 core couples, and then Isaac is discovering his asexuality, which I
And then
like that storyline.
there's Sahar as well, and now Imogen.
And now Imogen, yeah, who it seems like they're hinting might be bisexual
Mm-hmm.
in in season 2. So yeah, I love, and I remember writing in my review for Geek Vibes Nation. I love that the world of Heartstopper expands, and by that I meant the characters. We also see them visit Paris. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I love that season 2 just felt grander. And even though Nick and Charlie are still centered, and then also, and that's one thing I love from the comics. So we're getting, if the show remains true to the comics, we'll see more of this. The 2 teachers, like their love story. I love they
Mm-hmm.
put that in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just love that show. I'm ready for season 3. I think we'll get season 3 towards the end of this year, because they were filming it. They were already filming, or they had wrapped filming towards the end of last year. Like they filmed Heartstopper quick.
Mm-hmm.
And with it being a
So,
British show, it
mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been affected by the
The
strikes
strikes,
over
right.
here. So it makes sense they would have been filming. They would have got it done. So anyway, love that show. Hope we get season 3 this year.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about Wheel of Time, because that was a show that you mentioned on your list. I haven't heard of that. What is that?
Wheel of Time. So it's that adaptation of a book. It's a fantasy series. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's about. So there's a prophecy that says the dragon reborn will take down the dark one. They're kind of the antithesis of each other. So imagine like a savior, like the savior, and then like the devil or whatever, almost. And it's actually more complex than that. But like this lady, Rosamund Pike is in the show. She is a
Oh,
part of
yes.
She's a part of this organization of women called the Aes Sedai. They're like sorceresses, basically. They're women who can tap into the one power. The thing that makes the dragon reborn and the dark one unique is that they're men who can tap into the one power, and that's very unique in this world because usually only women can do it, or the best at it. So the Aes Sedai are women who can do this. So Rosamund Pike, there's a prophecy that says the dragon reborn will show up in this certain part of the world. So in season 1, she goes to this village, and there's like 5 or 6 kids, and they're a group of friends. They all have different abilities. So she's like, okay, but out of the 6 of you, 5 or 6 of you, one of y'all is a dragon reborn. So season 1 is about them going on the road. She's trying to get them to the Aes Sedai, like their home base. She's trying to get them there. But of course, the Dark One, there's this group who they're not called witch hunters, but they're pretty much, they take down people who use the white cloaks. They take down people who use magic. Like they start getting separated and start going in their own different paths, discovering the different powers. I feel like this is a pretty horrible summary, but that's kind of the gist of it. And at the end of season 1, we find out who the Dragon Reborn is out of the core group of friends. Season 2, everybody thinks that character is dead, so we're like watching his journey. Also, there are false dragons that show up. So in season 1, we have a character who's a false dragon, and that he plays an important role in season 2 when he's helping the actual Dragon Reborn figure out his path. And then we also have the Dark One who's still out there. In season 2, the characters like 2 of the characters, female characters from season 1, are they're being trained to be Aes Sedai. So it's about them kind of being at magic school, dealing with different drama and issues. One character from season 1, he's like cursed and imprisoned for most of the second season. He kind of went crazy. I think that we got at the end in season 1. So he's trying to recover from that in season 2. You just watch the trailer. It's a really good show. It's because Amazon Prime has the Rings of Power, and then they have Wheel of Time. Those are the 2 big like Game of Thrones-esque fantasy shows. And Wheel of Time is based on a book series. It was a 14 books by Robert Jordan, so it's an adaptation of that book series. It took me forever to watch season 1 because season 1 came out in like 2020, 2021, and like I finally finished it last year, right when season 2 was coming out, and I was like, okay, I messed with this. Yeah, I like it. So I binged season 3, season 2, like right as it was finishing, like right as it finished its initial airing or whatever. I was catching up. But anyway, I love it. I love that show.
Okay, it's pretty dope. Okay, I have seen advertisements for it on Amazon with Rosamund Pike, like at the center of it, and it's always something that I was kind of a little bit interested in, but I never watched it. It does kind of remind me of Shadow and Bones mixed with the Bastard Son and the Devil himself.
Mm-hmm.
So that does sound pretty interesting.
That reminds me, I need to go finish the Shadow and Bone season 2. And you know what? Like that show, like that was really big for Netflix. I'm surprised Netflix canceled that because like the writers for that show had already started working on the spinoff show, the Six of Crows show. Like they already had scripts, and like apparently the way season 2 ended it, like it was going to spin the characters off. So I'm really surprised Netflix canceled that. I think it was probably I feel like it was more of a financial decision. Because I mean that is a big fantasy show. That comes with a lot of special effects.
Right.
But I would bet that it was a financial decision. Which I mean, I guess all cancellations are financial decisions, but
Yeah. I feel like that was like a bad decision to make because
yeah,
Shadow and Bone has such a huge fan base already. For you to have 2 shows out of that universe, like from the book series, I think
that would have been major.
Yeah, that would have been major.
And then there was an article that came out literally the last week or the week before last that says Netflix's young adult stuff does really well. And somebody literally said, well, why the heck are they canceling all the young adult stuff? So, I mean, it's kind of perplexing. It's like, y'all's young adult stuff is doing well, but y'all are canceling all of it. Canceled First Kill, Shadow and Bone. I mean, they've canceled all kind of stuff. And it's just
I'm not okay with this.
I'm not okay. And they act, yeah. And those 2 shows, the Society and I'm Not Okay With It, they pissed me off so bad because they actually renewed those and then rescinded the renewals. And I was like, wow. That was during COVID. Yeah, that was really messed up because I'm Not Okay With This. The way that ended, I was like, okay, we have to find out where what happens next. They were hinting at this bigger superhero, like superpower mythology. So pissed off about that.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay, just one quick run through of your list. Percy Jackson isn't done yet, but I have seen a lot of people talk about that show. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it. I think I'm going to wait till like the full season comes out so I can binge it.
Let's binge it.
Yeah.
And I will say this because I think episode 4 came out today. And I
Mm-hmm.
like I and critics. We got the first 4 episodes last month. I will say for me, it really hit its stride around episode 4. Like episode 3 is getting there, and then episode 4 is where I was really like, okay, yes, like I'm loving this. I'm really really invested. But it's a good show. I've enjoyed it. I do think it'll watch. You'll be able to enjoy it more by
Mm-hmm.
being able to binge it. So I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I do want to ask you about Swarm because I didn't watch Swarm. It did seem like a pretty interesting show. It was one of those shows that Donald Glover had announced, I think, a year or two ago, and I had kind of followed all the developments around it because I was kind of excited to watch it. I was interested in it, but then I saw a couple of people's reviews, and that made me a little less interested in watching it. So I was just curious to see what you thought of it.
I loved it. It was very dark. It was a kind of exploration of like obsession and being a fan, and
Mm-hmm.
like her whole thing is she's obsessed with a singer who's like kind of a stand-in for Beyonce, but like the lengths she will go to and how it impacts her life. And like Dominique Fishback is just a great young actress. Like it was really interesting. And then there's a twist in in episode 6 that I really loved. It's very meta, I'll say
Mm-hmm.
that, and it kind of reconceptualizes what we've been watching. You're like, oh, this is what like, and it's kind of it's not like a huge thing, but it kind of it's very. Can I just tell you what happens? Because it
No,
just
don't spoil
okay,
it.
okay. I don't know if you were gonna watch it, but yeah, something happens at the end of episode 6, and I was like, oh my god, that makes me look at this whole show in a completely different light.
Uh
And
huh.
and I will say, it goes back to that true crime thing we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
When it happens, you're like, oh crap. So wait, and I won't say more because I'm pretty much hinting. I pretty much almost just showed you what I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
I love the show. I thought the lead actress, was great. Again, the lengths she goes to, and then also like she's very I don't know, just the way she plays the act. Like she's the character. She's very shy and reserved, but she's also very twisted and conniving and murderous. And it's just the way things play out on this show. You're just like, really? Like it's just it's pretty. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good,
Okay.
like a thriller type thing.
Oh, a thriller. I do love thrillers. I might have to check it out then because I was interested in the show and I was interested in like the making of it. And Donald Glover had done this interview and he said something that kind of put me off. He basically said that he wanted the character to be almost like animalistic, and I was like, ew, okay, that's a little. I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
would use those words to describe like the black actress you have playing this titular character in your show, but okay,
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I really loved
yeah.
it.
Awesome. Okay. So we're gonna transition into the list that I have
Okay,
for
sounds
my
good.
top shows for 2023. And I'm just gonna run through them um real quick, just gonna give you a little synopsis and then you can, ask whatever questions you like. So first one is gonna be Class of '07. It was a new show on Prime Video. Basically, it's about this reunion for an all-girls high school, and it's a really interesting show. The main character is Zoe, and she doesn't want to go to her high school reunion because she was on a dating show, and she got rejected at the last, I guess, episode of the dating show. It was like The Bachelor or whatever, and she basically like had this little rampage, and then she released like these doves on set, and one of the doves shot in her mouth. So she didn't want to go back to the high school reunion, but then something disastrous is going to happen where she has to go there, and the show's basically centered around like the aftermath of that, like all these people being like essentially trapped in their high school with all these people they hate and they haven't seen for like 20, 30 years. So Class of '07. Next one is the Night Agent Netflix show following FBI agent Peter Sutherland, who guards a night action phone which never rings, except one night it does ring, and then he discovers a deadly conspiracy in the White House. That is one show. Next one is The Diplomat. Stars Kerry Russell. She basically plays a diplomat in a Netflix political thriller. It's a really good show. She was a longtime foreign service officer who now has to do like basically showmanship work in like London if she doesn't like it, and her marriage is on the line as well. And it's a very interesting show with a lot of like interesting dynamics. Next one is Dead Ringers. It is a kind of like a reboot off of the David Cronin film, which was a adaptation for the book of the same name, and it stars Rachel Weisz. She's playing Elliot and Beverly Mantle, twins who want to change the way women give birth. It is a thriller. It is a exploration of how women give birth, and it is gory. It's really, really good. Next one is Gen V, which we've already talked about, which was awesome. Next one is Slow Horses, which is a spy drama on Apple TV, which is adapted by the Slough House novels. And I love this show. It has Gary Oldman in it and Jack Lowden, who is like a really good actor in this show, and it's really, really great. I loved it. Next one, Everything Now, British teen comedy on Netflix, follows Mia Polanco, who is a 16-year-old girl who is leaving a hospital with her battle of anorexia, and now she has to go back to school and like try and rebuild her life. Next one is Shrinking, Apple TV comedy with Harrison Ford, Jessica Williams, and Jason Segel. I love that show. It was so funny. And then I have Harlan Coben's Shelter, which is an Amazon Prime show adaptation from a young adult novel. It follows the story of Mikey Bolitar, who, after the death of his father, leads him to start a new life. And then when a student disappears, Mikey tries to like uncover the mystery with his friends. And then there is Mrs. Davis, which was a sci-fi show on Peacock. I think it was. I don't have Peacock. I saw the commercials for it on TikTok, and I was like, interesting. So I pirated it. Very good. Stars Betty Gilpin. It's basically about this nun who hates this AI bot, Mrs. Davis, that everybody in the world uses, and she wants to take down Mrs. Davis. And Mrs. Davis is like, okay, you can take me down if you find the Holy Grail, which is like the hardest thing to find in the world. And she's like, bet, let's do it. And honestly, it's a very interesting exploration of like religion and belief and faith and technology and how that all kind of bleeds together. So those are my top shows for 2023. I do have an honorable mention, which is The Horrors of Dolores Roach, which is a really, really good show on Amazon Prime. It's basically a podcast, which is very interesting. I think the only other show that I know that's based on a podcast is Archive 81 on Netflix, which is really good. It should have gotten like at least 3 seasons, not just one. Netflix, screw you. But it starred, what's her name? I wrote it down. Justina Mercado.
I was gonna say I like that actress. I years ago I used to watch a show called 6 Feet Under. She was on there, so we'll say I do like that lead actress.
Oh yeah, very good, funny horror thriller exploration on gentrification in Brooklyn, and also recidivism as well in the justice system. One of my favorites. I love that show. I'm so sad nobody else watched it.
Isn't that show? So I'm writing this down. The Horrors of Dolores Roach, Harlan Coben Sheltered, Everything Now. Because Everything Now, that's that girl. I think the lead is the girl from Talk to Me, and I keep seeing that on Netflix.
It is. Yes, yes.
I watched Talk to Me recently, and I was like, okay, I want to see more from her. So Horrors of Dolores Roach, Harlan Coben Shelter. I do want to watch it. Everything Now. You said another one that I was like, oh, I need to write that one down.
I mean, I can just go down my list again.
Yeah, go down your list.
Okay.
That was one I wanted to...
So, Class of 07, Amazon Prime, The Night Agent on Netflix, The Diplomat on Netflix, Dead Ringers on Amazon Prime, then I said Gen V, which we talked about, and Slow Horses is on Apple TV, and then...
Which I literally just found out about today, because I saw it on Twitter, and it got an early renewal, and I was like, wait, what's that? It's Gary Oldman? Gary Oldman's in there, cool.
That. I think that Slow Horses is going to go on for a long time because there are 6 books in the series.
Oh, secret.
The show is so good. Like, it's crazy how good this show is. And I usually, I love British TV shows. I love crime procedurals. And British crime procedurals, they get me every single time. Especially if David Tennant is in it, then I'm, definitely going to watch it. But this one with Gary Oldman and then this cast of people that don't really recognize, but I feel like I said before, makes the show even better. It's phenomenal. It's quick-witted. It's smart. It's a thriller. There's always a mystery in every single season, and every single season you don't know how they're going to figure out. You don't know how they're going to, understand. You don't know how they're going to unravel the mystery, unravel the plot. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the show is called Slow Horses because the main characters of the show work in Slough House, which is a punishment detail in MI5. And if you work in Slough House, you only work there because you messed up as a spy. So this is where you're stuck at. And they basically
Hmm.
put spies there to, push them to quit because it's a
Hmm.
terrible place to work. And somehow they keep getting into all these conspiracies within the British intelligence unit, and I don't even understand how they unravel these mysteries sometimes, but it's so good.
Okay, I'm gonna check that one out.
Yeah. Yes. Are there any other shows on the list that I said that are like interesting to you or you have questions about?
Oh, and I was just thinking, I remember seeing the preview for Class of '07 and the one for The Diplomat because I like Kerry Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And even that actress from Class of '07, she was in American Gods.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, she was in American Gods, and I think she
Oh.
was in what was that? What was that Zack Snyder film? Sucker Punch.
Oh.
If I'm thinking of the right actress, then
I
yeah,
think she was a Sucker Punch. Yeah. Yeah. Class of '07 is a very good show. It's very funny.
Emily
And
Browning. Yeah.
yes, Emily Browning. There's one, I don't know if it's like, there's this one plot point in the show where this girl, she was basically like the school bully. She kind of designates herself as the leader to help everyone, and she like pushes everyone to like wake up early, straighten your hair, work out, take your vitamins as a way to be in your right mindset. And it's almost synonymous with like, oh, if you're working from home during the pandemic, you should get up and make your bed every day just so you can start the day off right. And then one of the girls loses her mind because she's like, we're literally dealing with something that's close to an apocalypse, and you want all of us to go to spin class.
Mm, mm, mm.
It's
So I'm like,
so
yeah,
good.
yeah, that one sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you recognize a lot of the shows on the list, or are a lot of them new
I've
to
heard
you?
of them. A lot of them I haven't. A lot of them I've heard of, but I haven't watched. Because I was thinking, I was like, dang, I haven't watched any of these, but I've heard of them. Like I said, literally, like the one that I heard of, literally, I discovered today was the Slow Horses. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
literally discovered that one today because I was like, oh, Gary Oldman's, and I didn't know he was doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, but a lot of this stuff I haven't watched. But I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Especially, of course, everything now in Harlan Coben's Shelter. The YA stuff definitely jumps at you. I was like, oh, I know those
Yeah.
are YA. I was like, yep.
I'm actually surprised that like not a lot of people watched everything now, because I think that that
It flew
show,
under the radar. Like it really
yeah.
could have been like the next Sex Education or something like that. And especially with her being blowing up this year for Talk to Me, I was like, that really didn't. I happened to see everything now by happenstance, and I think Netflix only recommended it to me because I watch a lot of young adult stuff, and I was like, oh, what is this? It really didn't get a put. There's another show on there too that didn't. I was like, it's in that same vein. I was like, oh, you would think they would have pushed this.
Mm-hmm.
But especially with their YA stuff being so big, as that report just said a couple weeks ago. So even I remember Heartbreak High, which it came
Yes.
out. It was like either last year or 2022. I remember watching the new version of that, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love this show!" But a
Yeah.
lot of people didn't watch it, and I was like, "Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't they push this?"
Mm-hmm.
Especially because it's a remake of a show that ran for like years and years. But it was like I
Mm-hmm.
loved that new Heartbreak High for Netflix season one. I loved that show. It
So good.
was very good.
It's so good. Heartbreak High was such a wild show when I started watching it. Because I think started watching it because I was watching, because you could tell by my list, a lot of these are thrillers. Like a lot of these are like,
I was like, you do watch a lot of things. I was like, I was thinking, I was like, I don't watch a lot of spy thrillers and stuff like that. And I was like, I
yeah.
feel like, I feel like it's hard for me to get. I like the idea of it, but then when I sit down and try to watch it,
Uh huh.
I don't know. It doesn't always. A lot of times it doesn't click with me. Like I love the Kingsman movies,
Mm-hmm.
but they're more absurdist,
Yeah.
Um, but
Rather
yeah,
than
I'm
something
not.
like rather than something like serious.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh huh. I do enjoy them. Like one show that I've always loved was Broadchurch, but it's not a show that I would ever recommend to anybody else because that show destroyed me, especially season one. Like that show is so, oh, it's really really good and very well written, but it's so taxing when you just get through season one because it's like, how could you make a show like this? How could you film a show like this? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
thrillers are so interesting because I'm interested in the way that you develop a story. I'm interested in the way that you start with the problem and you kind of work through it. And that's especially why I love the show Slow Horses, because okay, the first season, it's about this young kid who gets kidnapped, and they literally have a day to find him. So the season, like, first episode is the day before he gets kidnapped. Next episode, the day he is kidnapped, and all the rest of the episodes of season one, you are literally spending a whole night trying to find a kid, because the group that kidnapped him, this is a brown kid, the group that kidnapped him, they're a white nationalist group in the UK. They're going to behead him live on camera. They have to find him within the night. They have hours to find him. So you're watching people like track things, you're watching subterfuge, you're watching like, all these different like moving pieces in this chess game of trying to find this one kid so he doesn't die. And you learn like how this kid got snatched up, who this kid really is, the people that are kind of like trying to work and find this kid, the people who took this kid. And the Slow Horses, they're basically rejects in the intelligence agency. They're seen as degenerates, they're seen as like nobodies, they're seen as just trash. And the fact that like River Cartwright, who is like the newest slow horse essentially, he is like determined to figure this out. And the only reason why he's in Slough House and he didn't like fully get kicked out, because I'm not gonna tell you the reason why they're in Slough House, because like that's more of the fun of figuring that out in the show. His grandfather is like MI5 legacy, essentially. He's like a legacy hire almost.
Okay.
So that's why he's in Slough House. And I feel like in any thriller, you always need that one person that's hard headed and doesn't listen to authority and just does what they want. And they also do the stupidest things. It's like, how'd you get yourself in this situation? And how did you get out of it, too? How do you always get out of this? That's what I love about a thriller. You always need that one person, that one protagonist, who's just, like, acting out of pocket, but for a good reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It also has motivated me to read the books. I do want to get those books, too.
That's the same thing with Wheel of Time. I'm like, I ended up purchasing, like, the first two books. I'm like, I have to, check this out, because the show has got me like, okay, I can't wait this long for the next season. I got to check it out.
Oh, also, Shelter, such a good show, but I don't understand. I don't get why they canceled it. Like, they canceled it after one season, which is very disappointing, because it's actually like really interesting, and all the actors, like the young actors, they're really talented. They're actually like really adorable, and I did like the show. I thought it was a really interesting mystery behind it.
Yeah, that one I'm excited to check out. Like I said, that one and Everything Now are at the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the YA comes first. Although, dang, it's canceled, so I got to go into it. Like, don't get too attached, because they're not coming back.
That's the thing that really sucks, is when you get into a show, and that's the reason why I can't watch certain shows on Netflix, because I know there's only one season. So if I watch the show and I get attached to the characters, so there's gonna be no point in me even like beginning, because there's no continuation of the story. It just ends unfinished and unresolved.
Yeah,
And
Netflix is definitely dangerous when it comes to that.
it's so disappointing. Like, why would you do that to us? Why would you give us something that is so great and so well crafted? Like, I'm not okay with this. I haven't started watching that show because there's only one season,
Mm-hmm. And it's so good. I've rewatched it like 3 times. I love that show. It was very good.
Yeah, my friends keep recommending it to me because it's like horror and also YA, so it's definitely like my vibe. But I'm just not. I don't want to start something and then like not be disappointed by it, but just not have any follow up to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you do want to get into thrillers, I do recommend The Night Agent and The Diplomat. Apparently, those are the most watched shows on Netflix of last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that because no one else was talking about that show. Like, not The Night Agent, especially. Because The Night Agent is a really interesting show, just the premise alone. Because it's about this guy. He was in the FBI or he worked for the White House. I don't really remember exactly what he was doing. But he saved a bunch of train off of a bomb attack. And then the perpetrator ran away. and he tried to catch him, but then he got injured in the field. So I think he got punished, and he was basically given this punishment detail where he has to answer like this night phone or something, and the phone never rings. So he just kind of like stays in this locker room, but the phone that never rings, and he just kind of like wastes his days there. And this woman has to like calls the phone one night, and he's like trying to figure out like why is she calling, what's going on, is she okay, what's happening, and he covers this like huge conspiracy. And those are the kind of shows I love, where like the main character is up against the clock, they're back against the wall, the government is after them, MI5 is after them, and it's like they gotta make it, they gotta like they gotta survive. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a really really good show. It's pretty solid. I think there's gonna be season 2, which I'm excited for, but also those shows are very stressful. You know, you're watching it and you're like, "Ooh, let me catch my breath," because I feel like I was running from the cops. Like it's intense. It's intense. So season 2, I know is going to be even crazier, which I'm a little excited for. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I won't say that one was at the very high up on my list to check out, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll consider it.
Okay. Yeah. Have you heard of Shrinking in Apple TV? Because I think that was one of the more
I heard of that
popular.
recently. Somebody
Yeah.
told me about it, but yeah, like literally a couple weeks ago, somebody was mentioning. I was like, "What is shrinking?" Because it's funny. I had just come across that Matt Damon movie from years ago, like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, called Downsizing.
Oh,
So I was
downsizing.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, is it connected to that? And somebody's like, no, it's not connected to that at all. So like
Yeah.
shrinking.
Shrinking is actually a really good show. I think it's like one of the only. It's one of the only pieces of Harrison Ford's filmography that I've watched where he's just an old man. He's just
Mm-hmm.
himself. He's a cranky old man who doesn't want to be there. And I find that to be a lot more fun than him swinging off of buildings and him jumping off of trains and like moving cars. Like, y'all, he's 80. Y'all gotta let this man rest. All
That man
right?
is pretty old. Yeah,
He
he
needs a
is.
break.
I
I
don't
don't
disagree with you.
I don't know who signed him up for that Captain America movie, but somebody needs to let that man just like sit on a beach somewhere and drink a Mai Tai. Please.
Like, let this man retire. Please let this man
Please.
retire. When they said he did that other that recent Indiana Jones movie, I said,
Uh-huh.
really, really got
I
Harrison running around doing all that.
I know when they told him that they're gonna kill him off in the sequel Star Wars, he was like, "Thank you,
I
thank you."
think I heard that he said that he was like, I'll come back, but y'all got to kill me. I ain't doing it no more.
He's like, "I can't listen."
But that's such a testament to his career. Because I mean, you think about that. He has got he the fact that he was in Star Wars and like Indiana Jones, kind of. I don't want to say around the same time, but the fact that he has played two iconic, like the roles, some of the roles he, like some of his roles,
Mm-hmm.
have been the roles that literally change an actor's entire life. Like just that one role, but he's had multiple ones. That's what always gets me about his roles is that some of the stuff he has done. It's like if an actor just like for like an actor these days, they got like a Star Wars level or a Indiana Jones level that would like change the entire trajectory
Mm-hmm.
of their career. But he has multiple projects like that. I just think that's amazing. That's a testament to how talented he is.
Yeah, he's also, I think, very good in Shrinking because it's a show about this therapist. He lost his wife, and now he has
Yes,
this.
shrinking. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he has
Hence the title
this.
shrinking. Yeah,
Yeah, and
because
he
originally I was like, what?
right. It's like, what is that title? What does that mean,
Oh,
huh?
you know what? I'm starting to remember how somebody described it to me because he gets involved in his patient's life. Like he breaks that code of like like he starts helping them outside of the. And I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. I was like, oh, okay, okay,
Yeah. I like the concept too because I think it's a lot more personal. And also, like,
yes, absolutely,
it's definitely going to help them a lot more, especially the relationship he has with one of his patients. I think that that's a lot of fun because it's kind of like he has a little buddy. But I can also see how getting a little too invested in your patients' lives can lead to problems, you know?
absolutely. Which is
Mm-hmm.
why it's not done so often. But I did think that was interesting. The concept is like, okay, well, what if a therapist decided to cross that line? What does that
Yeah.
look like?
And we kind of examine that and see what that means, you know, for the therapist and also for the person he's trying to, counsel and help. And
I'm gonna
it's
write that
interesting
one down.
to, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see like therapists in media also have messy lives because it's kind of like you need to talk to yourself and
It's
then
like yeah, I feel like with any therapist character, there's always like okay, their own life is like absolute mess. I feel like that's kind of built into any like if a character is a shrink, it's like okay, their life is gonna be messy.
yeah, Mm-hmm. Also, Everything Now was such a good show, and I wish more people were talking about it because I feel like there has been this rise of YA TV shows where the characters are imperfect, but they're imperfect in ways that aren't really highlighted a lot in media. And I'm really glad that like there are more shows and more movies being made like this. And I think Everything Now is such like a smart show. And it's also a lot of fun. And it's also
Hmm.
very heartwarming, but it's also very messy because
Yeah. And
it's
that's what I loved about
kids.
Never Have I Ever. Like
Yeah.
Davy, the character is just she's so messy. Like she makes some of the same mistakes.
She's so
She like, and I'm
messy.
like I feel like on teen shows, like once the character learns a lesson, like they know that lesson and it's time. But it's like no, in real life, teenagers sometimes they have to go through stuff multiple times before it
Yeah.
finally is built. So I love that about Never Have I Ever is that she was such a messy character.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that when they allow teens to truly act like teen characters to act like real teens in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
work with teens, so I know that they can be a mess.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I do think that there's been like an onslaught of a lot of new young adult shows on Netflix that I think could take up the mantle that like Sex Education and Never Have I Ever once held. As you know, they're highly regarded shows if they're given the same promotion
If
and
they're given the same promotion, that is a key phrase.
yeah, and the
If,
same
because I
marketing.
feel like they're not. I feel like they're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Heartbreak High definitely deserves the same kind of push that Sex Education was getting. Because
Mhm.
those actors at Sex Education, they were going on road trips, they were going on movie premieres, they were doing a lot. Okay,
They
when
were.
that first
They were.
season came out.
Especially, I was gonna say, especially that first season, like those,
Mm-hmm.
the lead three were just everywhere, and I loved it. Asa
Yes.
Butterfield, and those other two,
Chuti
Nikuchi.
Gatwa and
Yeah,
then Emma Mackey.
yeah.
Emma Mackey, I
But I
think,
will
yeah.
say, I'm happy. Like Emma Mackey, 'cause I know she did a movie last year that was like it was well regarded, and then of course Nikuchi Gatwa, like he's the new Doctor Who. So I will
Yeah.
say, I've loved seeing their careers progress thanks to Sex Education. And Nikuchi, Emma, and then what's his name, the guy that plays Eric, they were all in Barbie. I was just so happy when I saw that.
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
let me find out Greta Gerwig is a Sex Education
She
fan.
definitely is.
Yes, I was like,
She definitely is.
how in the hell did you get those three? You just so
Yeah.
happened to get those three. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm. I also love Sex Education because Asa Butterfield already kind of had a pretty successful career before the show came out, and so seeing
Mhm.
him in this TV show I think was a lot of fun. Just to see him in like this like central grounded role, and
Mhm.
movie stars when they transition into TV shows, I think that only benefits them
Yeah.
because you're playing.
I'm sorry.
No.
Well, I realized something. I was gonna say no, and I felt like even though he was playing a teenager, this was a more because Sex Education was more like adult in a sense, like as far as
Mm-hmm.
graphics, as far as like I feel like we got to see him more of like be a little older on that show too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because he has such a baby face, but he was like 23 when the show first started. You
Hmm.
know, they're all like in their mid 20s, but they're all playing teenagers. I think they played teenagers very very well, especially in the
Yeah,
first season.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember rewatching Sex Education and then falling in love with the show all over again in anticipation for season 4 and then being
I
disappointed.
remember it's funny. I remember I didn't get into the show until season two. Like season two had just come out, and I was like, "Let me watch. Let me go back and watch season one. I think I might like this." Because like I remember season one coming out, and I was like, "I don't know." But I remember it was all the buzz for season two that made me go, "Let me finally check it out." And I just fell in love with it. And I was like, "Dang it!" It's funny how
Yeah,
that'll happen. You'll be resistant to a show, and then you're like, "Oh my god, where has this been?"
yeah. I do hope this everything now does get a season 2, because when you see shows on Netflix that are very well done, but you don't see enough people talking about it, you kind of get nervous because you're like,
Yeah, no,
am I gonna see these characters again, or is this gonna be another one-off? Like you can't just keep having like shows that are a one-off, and also Netflix is so annoying sometimes because I was scrolling through Netflix one day and there was like this one section saying watch in a weekend, and it was all the shows they canceled after one season,
Mm,
and I'm like, girl, this is not cute. Like, get this out
right.
of my
Like no,
face.
no wonder I can watch it in a weekend. It's only one
Mm-hmm.
season.
Yeah, there barely anything to watch. Also, if you give something a season 2, people are more likely to go back, watch season 1, and then watch season 2. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
going to get renewed for a season 3. That's
They need to
what,
let they need to let give shows time to like grow and develop an audience. Because some
yeah.
shows will get a bigger audience. Like you said, later on they'll discover a future season and be like, oh, let me go back and rewatch it. But yeah, it's not again. They're not giving a lot of shows aren't given that room to grow.
They're
And I
not
feel
giving
like
them a
that's one thing
chance.
I feel like that's one thing where like Netflix, like no network television, especially 10, 15, 20 years ago, like you get to see more of that. Shows got some time to actually develop an audience. Because there are plenty of shows out there that were like successful that everybody's like, oh, during season one, people were barely watching it, and
Mm-hmm.
it found its audience in season two. I feel like streamers are a lot less likely to do that.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're absolutely right. You need to give shows a chance. Like, you need to give them the opportunity. And if Netflix had a retention model for subscribers, then they would know that. And we wouldn't have to deal with all this. But, now we're here.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now we're here. And they're allowing HBO to license some of their shows onto Netflix. So now I'm getting Ballers and my Netflix recommendations.
That's been really interesting. It's not just them. Like, there's some stuff from Peacock that's over on Amazon Prime now, and there's some stuff from Peacock that's over on Netflix now. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on? Like,
Have you seen School Spirits?
School Suite. That's the one I was thinking of. I
Yep.
watched like the first three episodes. I enjoyed it. That's another one of those shows that I never finished though. Just got
Why aren't you
distracted with other
finishing
stuff.
these shows? What's
I'll
going
get distracted.
on?
Sometimes I just get distracted by other stuff, and I'm like, I'll go back to that, and then I don't go back to it. And again, it's not because I don't like it. I'm just like, I
Uh
like
huh.
this, but I might like this thing over here more. So let me stop and go watch this.
What?
Like I said, Wheel of Time. It took me like 2 years to get through season one, and then by the time season two dropped, I was like, yes, I'm invested. So I have a weird relationship sometimes with shows. Well,
Tristan.
I mean, it happens. But my thing is, I'm a big proponent of sometimes you'll start stuff and you may not finish it, and that's okay. Like
Uh huh.
sometimes you just, again, something else might be more appealing. So I'm a big proponent of people should not force themselves to, because again, why put that strain on yourself
Uh huh.
and finish that? So
You know what? I'm kind of the same way where if I start watching something and I feel like I'm getting like, as the kids say, the ick, then I just stop watching it. But then I just forget about it because there's so much to watch now that like I don't have to go back to certain things. And there are
mhm.
times where I'll start watching a show and maybe I like the first season and the second season comes out and I'm like, you know what, this isn't as good as I remember it being. So I'm gonna let this lie.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. It's almost overwhelming sometimes to me how much stuff there is out there. And it's like, and again, like that's what I was saying earlier. Like I told myself, Tristan, you don't have to watch everything, and you darn sure don't have to review everything that you watch. Because I just put this
Mhm.
pressure on myself, and it gets kind of, again, I get overwhelmed at times. Because I mean,
Mhm.
like I said, I do feel like there's just so much out there. And these are, I mean, it's a good problem to have because like 30, 40 years ago, people couldn't. I mean, there was just a set number of TV shows, and that
Yep.
was it. So if you didn't like that, you were SOL.
Basically. Me personally, the one show that's been on my watch list forever is Yellow Jackets.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to watch it because apparently every single actress on Yellow Jackets is going to be in new stuff coming in 2024. And I need to
Season
know
one
where
was
they came
really
from.
Season one was really good. I haven't watched season two yet, so yeah, season one was I did enjoy. That was another one that it was right before season two came out. Like a few months, I was like, watch Yellow Jackets, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And what really made me watch it was because of Jasmine Savoy Brown. She was in Screams 5 and 6, and I was like, where is she? I was like, where has she
Oh,
been? And
yeah, her.
so when I saw her in Yellow Jackets, I was like, oh, let me check that out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so yeah, 2022. That's when the year I discovered Jasmine Savoy Brown.
Are there any other questions you have for me before we transition about the shows
Uh,
that I listed?
no, no.
Okay. I do recommend everyone check out the shows that we talked about, that we watched in 2023, and feel free to, tell us some of the shows that you saw in 2023 that you loved and you really liked. If there are some that we miss, feel free to let us know because so many TV shows came out last year that, like, girl, we can't get to all of them. We just can't. It's simply not done. And also, if there are some shows that you want me to talk about that I didn't, it's most likely that I did an episode about it on the podcast. So you will be able to find that if you kind of look through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to this pod. And we're going to transition into the last segment, which is recommendations. So, if there has been any TV shows or any movies that you have watched recently that you would like to recommend to the viewers, you can feel free to do so. One that I would recommend is Slow Horses because I've been rewatching it lately
Mhm.
because it's been such a long time since I found a show that's, you know, thriller, British. I love British TV. I love it. But also something that's so intricately and well done. I have to rewatch it because I need to pick up on the little Easter eggs. I need to pick up on
Mhm.
the things that I missed. I gotta get all the little hints. There are some parts of the show where things happen and I really don't know what's going on. That's why I have to rewatch it. I want to be in the know. I want to understand what's going on. I want the peek behind the curtain. You know what I mean? I want to feel like I'm in the driver's seat. You know, like I'm in the room where it happened. That's how I feel when I watch Slow Horses. So that's definitely one thing that I would recommend. Do you have any recommendations or anything you've seen recently that you like to
God, anything that
recommend?
I've seen recently. Okay, let me actually want to look through my.
You know what? I did
Because
want
I'm
to
like
ask you.
nothing jumps out at me really.
I actually,
Um,
you know the movie Poor Things?
Poor Things was good. All
Mm.
of Us Strangers was good. American Fiction was amazing. That was
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
I'm gonna watch that on my birthday. I'm excited for
The
that.
The Iron Claw was good. The Holdovers was good. So yeah, movies
Yes.
wise, yeah, I recommend The Holdovers. Just got uploaded to Peacock, so I just watched that not too long ago, like literally a couple of days ago. Love The Holdovers. Love The Iron Claw. American Fiction is amazing. Jeffrey Wright, Sterling K. Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Erica Alexander from Living Single, who's now making her comeback. She made her comeback in this movie. I think she's been behind the scenes for several, like for decades, but now she's back. All of Us Strangers was good.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Things. Um, yeah, though actually I would. Yeah, all those I just named, I would recommend those films. TV shows. I mean, of course, Percy Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
My Life with the Walter Boys is funny. It's like a discount. The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I did enjoy it.
Discount.
It's like a discount water.
Discount.
It's like the Summer I Turned Pretty light. It's like the light version of that one. But yeah, I really
Okay.
enjoyed that one. It's like bootleg. Yeah, it's kind of bootleg. The Summer I Turned Pretty, but but again, I watched it and I loved it. I am invested in that show, even
Wow.
though I keep comparing it to The Summer I Turned Pretty. I did finish season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty, but I enjoyed season 1. I'm enjoying season 2.
I
Um,
haven't watched that yet. I do see it a lot on Amazon Prime. Um, I'm guessing it's just about this girl who went through puberty, and there are these two guys that used to be her friends, and now one of them is into. They're both into her, and she has to pick
yeah,
one, right?
yeah, and their families are friends. Their moms are friends, so she grew up around them like they were her siblings.
Oh,
But and then something, that once summer something changes.
I think I would rather read the book than watch the show, because I'm trying to get
Yeah.
back into reading. If I'm being honest, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's about the same author who wrote Child of the Boys I Loved Before, and
Oh,
she's
really?
actually Jenny Han. She's actually the showrunner and executive producer um,
Good for her.
of the TV show. Yeah, so it's been interesting. That's another interesting thing to see. A lot of there's authors who are transitioning into TV
That's
and
dope.
executive producing and writing. So I think that's an interesting trend that I hope to continue to see.
There are a lot of authors that seem to get like this straight to like our movie TV like unspoken deal, like John Green, Jenny Han, and Harlan Corbin. Like all of their books are being adapted into media.
Hmm. Yeah, because there was the last one for John Green was like 2019. It was Finding Alaska over on Hulu, but I'm not sure how involved he was with this. Unless there's another one, his last one was Finding Alaska over on Hulu, which was I enjoyed that show. I never read the book, but I enjoyed the show.
I would have to
Um,
say I didn't watch the show, but I did read the book. It's fairly good.
yeah, I enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
the show. But yeah, Jenny Han actually, yeah, she signed like a 3-year overall deal with Amazon. So like for the next 3 years, she's gonna
Oh,
be creating content for them. And
nice.
then Rick Riordan, he's a writer and executive producer of the Percy Jackson books,
Mm-hmm.
the Percy Jackson show over on Disney Plus. So yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
been a whole big thing of authors being more involved in their adaptations. I actually moderated a panel last year at the North Texas Teen Book Festival about book to screen adaptations, and I was talking to the authors about that. I'm still salty because R.L. Stein was supposed to be on that panel, but he canceled. He canceled like 2 months. he canceled like 2 months before, so he didn't appear at
Oh,
the festival at all. And I was like, dang it,
oh.
I was gonna get to meet R.L. Stein, but maybe in the future, maybe in the future,
You'll probably meet him in the future, most likely.
hope so.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to say I did watch Poor Things because a friend of mine had recommended it to me, and also I love Yorgos Lanthimos as like
That
a
was my
filmmaker.
first film by him. That was my first film by him. What else has he made?
He's made a movie called The Lobster, which is a film about adults are basically they go to this retreat and they have to find like a love pairing almost. And if you don't find a love pairing by the end of the retreat, you get turned into an animal. So you have to
Oh
pick which
wow.
animal you're turned into. And it's weird because the retreat is in a forest, so sometimes you run into animals that are in the forest and you're kind of like, are these people that were at the retreat and they didn't find a love match? It's really weird. It's really strange. Um, he's done The Favorite, which was a film with Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, and Rachel Weisz, which is very, very good, and won Olivia Colman an Oscar. I don't remember exactly who Olivia Colman was playing, but she's playing a queen, and Rachel Weisz is like her right hand woman, and Emma Stone like scams her way into the palace, and now Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone kind of fight for the queen's attention. It's a really, really good movie. And then he did The Killing of the Sacred Deer, which is a film with Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman, and Barry Kogan, I think this is his last name. And Barry Kogan hates Colin Farrell. He's a doctor. He blames him for his mom's death, so he puts a curse on their family. It's a very interesting movie. I will have to say that it's very interesting. It's also very well done.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He has 4 films. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I'll have to check those out
Yeah,
because I loved Poor Things, and I was like, okay, what else has he done?
I do have to say because I've seen his other films, Poor Things will have to be like my least favorite of his. Because I did appreciate, I don't know, the story. I feel like for me, like as a woman, I think a lot of times like, or at least recently, there has been like this rise of media for women and like self discovery and womanhood. What it means to be a woman. What it means to be your place in what is your place in this world as a woman? You know, it's similar to like Barbie, where she has to kind of like free herself from the constraints that she feels and like really understand like what was I made for? And I think Barbie and Poor Things are very similar in looking at being a woman and who you are, but it feels very surface level for me. And I think Poor Things goes a little bit deeper into certain issues, but it literally it kind of feels like upper middle class white girl um, goes like studies abroad one summer and then discovers the world is not a beautiful place. That's the vibes that I was getting. Like white Christian goes to Africa on a mission trip, takes pictures of the black babies, and goes home to your like beautiful house in like upper middle class, city. It's like, okay, girl, we get it. You did the thing. That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still a fairly good movie. He's still like an incredibly talented director, and Emma Stone was so good in that movie. Like absolutely phenomenal. I'm glad that she took that role because it's a weird it's the movie's fairly unhinged. And I think that 2023 has had a lot of unhinged films coming out. Poor Things, Napoleon, Saltburn, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's. Like I feel like that movie is a little bit unhinged. You watch someone get chopped in half. That was a lot of fun. It's also PG-13, so they can't do too much violence in those movies. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was definitely an interesting year, you'd say. I don't think I have any other recommendations. So with
I
that,
don't have to.
yeah, with that, I want to say, Tristan, thank you so much for coming on the pod. It was so wonderful to speak with you and to talk about, all our 2023 favorites. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube as Tristan Circa 89, Tristan Circa 89. Yeah, you can find me on all platforms. I write for Geek Vibes Nation and the Cinema Spot, and also United by Pop here and there. So you can find my reviews. And yeah, check me out. Hit me up on Twitter.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching this week's episode of I've Been Meaning to Watch That. Don't forget to check out Tristan on all his stuff. His links will be down below. And don't forget to follow us on all the social media, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. And you can listen to this podcast wherever you find your podcast. And don't forget to tell your friends and family about your new favorite podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. And we'll
And
see you
thank you for
guys.
having me. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. And guys, we'll see you guys next week on another pod.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.